Americans sure do love some brands, while others just can't seem to sway public opinion. Chris Matizek wanted to know why the most recent survey, conducted by Morning Consult, revealed that Americans don't consider Apple to be one of their favorites. So, Chris, you dove into this for us to find some answers. Did it surprise you, first of all, that Apple wasn't on the list?
Well, here's the thing. You get lots of these sort of surveys come through. What was sort of interesting about this one was it was created by a reputable company, Morning Consult, and they claim to have talked to 400,000 Americans. I don't know if I've done that in my life. Maybe you have, but I certainly haven't. So you look at that and you go, well, Amazon is number one. Google is number two. Netflix is number three. And you keep looking, and I just didn't see Apple. I saw Samsung at number 12. I saw the United States Postal Service at number 6. So, you made me sort of think, well, Americans actually love Tide more than they love Apple. They love Dairy Queen more than they love Apple. Now, I thought that was odd. So I had to contact Morning Consult and say, hey, what's going on here? This seems really strange.
So, Chris, do you think that people have really fallen out of love with Apple, or does the survey really not represent what most feel about the iconic brand?
Because they said they've done the survey for 3 years and Apple has never appeared in the top 25, ever. And so I said, this cannot be possible. I mean, there's loads of surveys out there that say, Apple is the most valuable brand in the world. Apple is the brand that everyone looks up to. Listen, when I used to work in ad agencies, the first example you'd ever use for a brand that was incredibly brilliant, successful, full of wonderful people and things, it was Apple. So everyone, other clients would aspire, just give me something that Apple would do. So suddenly I see it's not there at all. And they say, well, it's very simple. They said, you see, those who love Apple really love Apple. Those who hate Apple, and there's a lot of them allegedly, really, really hate Apple. So using their methodology, Apple never appears in the top 25.
So, Chris, in terms of demographics, what did this survey reveal?
Well, the whole thing was very strange because I said, well, I want to see a breakdown. I can be terribly aggressive in getting the information. I say, please, the British accent helped. And so I said, tell me the breakdown of which demographics are still in love with Apple. And they said, well, the people who love Apple are rich people and Gen Z, which is people aged 18 to 21. Everyone else, meh. That's the way they seem to look at it. And that's their reasoning for why Apple never appeared in this top 25 in the whole history of this. When you're looking at 400,000 people, you're talking about a substantial survey. This isn't what a lot of people do. Is like, we talked to 1,000 people online, and this is what 1,000 people told us. This is 400,000 Americans. And so you stop to think, well, has the Apple brand changed? Has something really gone different in some way? I don't know.
So, Chris, interesting to note here that the survey singled out folks in rural areas. Expand on that for us a little bit.
Well, that was a specific data point in their research, is that rural people had the worst attitude towards Apple of everyone in America. So go out into the countryside and apparently you'll find these hordes of Apple haters on horses. I don't know. I mean, it's utterly, frankly, it's absurd. I mean, it's like, you go to the countryside, I'm sure there are people with iPhones, but that's what their results were. So who am I to besmirch their results? I don't think they reflect necessarily the entire reality of America, but, that's what they said.
So in your opinion, where does Apple really stand in the eyes of Americans?
I think, look, at the beginning, Apple was supposedly the rebel brand, right? The thing is, it was sort of Che Guevara in a Gucci sweatshirt. I mean, even though it was a rebel, it was a really expensive product to buy. So you had to spend a lot of money to be rebellious. Now, normally, you just go out on the streets to be rebellious. But no, this would cost you, even in those days, a good $600, $700. So once it got bigger and once Steve Jobs passed away, I mean, clearly the aim of Apple was to become a much bigger global brand. And you know yourself that when you become big and global, what you get is you can't be a rebel anymore. So you're in this situation where you're still trying to be cool, whatever that means these days. But at the same time, you're trying to get into China. You're trying to be the biggest brand in China and India and all sorts of places where, honestly, it's going to change the way you're seen. And so it isn't a cool thing anymore as much. It's a different sort of cool if you believe that, 18 to 21-year-olds, for some reason, those 3 years are incredibly infatuated with Apple. Look, there are other surveys of teens, 80% of whom say, yeah, my next phone is going to be an iPhone. Whether they have, such strong emotional feelings to that iPhone anymore, I suspect they have stronger emotional feelings to the apps they love and to Snapchat or whatever, whatever makes them, get up in the morning.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. If you want to know who topped the list of the most loved brands in America, be sure you check out Chris's article on ZDNet.